Thank you, David. No mai haere mai. Kia ora tātou. Good day, folks. I am Shane. I have to do it. My granddaughter is on the line. So morning, Imogen. Love you. Welcome, everybody, and thank you for coming to listen and I hope to engage a little bit about accelerated delivery using artificial intelligence. So one of the things that I have seen through the last year and a half as I've been digging deeply into using particularly the generative AI tools is that these tools truly do accelerate us. They help us do a whole lot of things quicker, and hence we've put together in SoftEd's case, in Skills Development Group's case, we've put together a class. But this webinar is looking at what are some of the things that have made this possible. Yeah, I'm not going to read all of this out, but I did go and ask one of the AI tools, Perplexity, which is a results augmented generator. It goes and finds what's current on the web as well. Who is this Shane person? The photos are all mine. And you might have noticed my coffee cup earlier. My favorite people call me Grandpa. And that's the role that I relish in the most at the moment. I've taken many other roles, author. I've been involved with IC Agile, the IIBA, and various other certification bodies and communities for many, many years now, and also an ICF accredited coach. And I've been using these tools in anger, to enhance the work that I do. So what do we mean by that? One of the challenges that we face as a society, as a global society, is the pace of change. And there's been a lot of exploration about the velocity, the rate, and you can find all the graphs that show that the change curve just jumping up and becoming faster and faster. But in this particular quote, change is marked by three dimensions today. It is perpetual. We can no longer take the change management approach of freeze, unfreeze, refreeze. We have to cope with a continuous cycle of change. It is pervasive. Change is not just happening in one area. It is sitting all in pretty much any aspect of life. We can look around, and this is for us as individuals, as organizations, as teams, as societies, that change in so many different areas happening around us. And it is exponential. It is accelerating and increasingly more rapid pace. So this has an impact. One is it makes us potentially, at the very least, it is disruptive, but it means we have to find mechanisms to cope. And our old change management approaches, whether we're talking individually or in organizations, they're no longer applicable. And the tooling, the application of these generative AI products, and I'm particularly focusing on generative AI, but they are just in some ways they're the very, very visible evidence of what's been happening in the deeper application of artificial intelligence tools. But we're seeing in organizations that these tools are giving us measurable, clear benefits that are making a difference for the organizations, for the people. There's an InfoQ article that spoke about Uber looking at 13,000 engineering hours, so 6.5 years of an engineer's time saved in a year. Microsoft, the internally Copilot assisted tasks completed 29% faster. Goldman Sachs, 42% of lawyers and loan officers' time, which they've equated to directly a $30 to $50 million per year saving. UPS, $400 million through AI route optimization. These are just a small scattering sample of some of the things that we're seeing. And of course, many organizations not going to publish their proprietary information, what's happening, but we know that these tools, these capabilities are making a difference. And in our society, in our organizations, there are pressures. The need to be more efficient, to adapt to that change. The workforce transformation. One of the statements that have been made is 85 million jobs will be lost due to automation over the next 5 years. Conversely, 97 million new jobs will be created. So how do we transform the skills in our workforce to lean into and take up those new jobs? The employees want to be empowered. We want to collaborate. We want to use the tools. The organizational changes that are going on around us, and lots and lots of other drivers in our organizations and society that are pushing us towards taking advantage of the capabilities that are now available to us. And it's a taking advantage of. But there are lots and lots of myths and misconceptions. Will it replace all jobs? No. Is it going to be disruptive? Yes. There's it's been said so many times that I could not tell you who the original the person who originally came up with the statement is. But it's been said, your job will not be replaced by a computer, by an AI, but your job could be replaced by another human using an AI. So it's incumbent upon us to get competent with the tools to be able to lean in, to be valuable in the new economy, in the new changed world. AI, certainly not fully autonomous. We're hearing and seeing some agents and things starting to come about, but they're still not, they're never going to be fully autonomous. It's certainly not going to make perfect unbiased decisions, and we'll touch a little bit later on the ethics and bias and things to be very conscious and aware of. Can it replace human creativity? The evidence so far is no, but it can certainly enhance human creativity. Does it guarantee increased efficiency? Well, we go back to the old adage, automating a bad process just makes bad things happen quickly. We've got to get the underlying processes right, and if we are, then we can get increased efficiency. But if we don't, well, all we do is maybe make bad things happen quicker. It's certainly not as an immediate overnight transformation of business operations, and this is the flavor of the month adoption of a new tool, technique, or practice has been around for decades and probably for centuries. That somehow the hype around a new product is going to make us better, faster. Well, the reality is, yes, they can, and we need to integrate them into our business operations. So that integration will always take time. What we're seeing is that time is shortening, but we still need to put the deliberate effort. The next one, implementing AI as a quick and easy process. What we're seeing that there are some elements that can be implemented relatively quickly, and those are particularly around the use of the um, large language models, generative AI tools. Those, provided you have good policies in place in an organization, that you can start getting benefit from those fairly quickly. But if you're going to look for the deeper benefits, where you're looking to take advantage, for instance, of looking back over your own organization's call center data and build a semi-intelligent chatbot. Well, that takes a lot of training. It takes a lot of extra work, different roles, different ways of working in the organization, and that takes time. Yeah, I think we've now all realized that this is not another production line automation. That it's not just going to not going to impact the low-skill jobs. Any role at any level in an organization can be augmented and accelerated through the use of these tools today. But it's accelerated and augmented. It is not replaced. And it's certainly not going to solve all our workplace problems. In fact, it's going to exacerbate some. It's probably going to create some new ones. So personally, I'm very optimistic, and my experience has been positive using these tools. But I'm also very, very conscious and aware of the impacts that these tools are having. The complementor, the human AI mindset. How do we start thinking about the use of whatever AI tool in a mindful and aligned with values way approach? So sitting in that responsible and ethical. Ethics have always been an important part of our societies. They should always be an important part of our organizations. Today, my feeling is they're becoming more and more important, that we raise the priority of ethical, human-centered behaviors. And we think about within our organizations, what are truly our values, our ethics. And we partner that with strategic value focus. That we are truly taking a responsible approach to the way that our organizations move forward, that we have clarity of purpose, that we use the data to inform and we can learn, and that we do look to what are the opportunities to streamline decision making. We've known in all of the modern ways of working the value of putting the decision point as close to the customer as possible, rather than having to go through many layers of hierarchy, going up and down to get permission to do something. How can we empower people at the edge? Well, to truly take advantage of these tools, we're needing to sometimes completely restructure our organizations into value streams, into cross-functional ways of working. And again, we've known about this, the pressures for around business agility and modern ways of working is making it have been around 20, 30 years now, and we're seeing the most successful organizations are the ones that make those mindset shifts. Well, with the AI tools, we're definitely digging into that. And Pamela, yes, you're absolutely right. We're far from the first innovation, the acceleration of those of these innovations is probably the biggest thing that is making a big difference here. But they really thinking about how do we create this cohesive view in our organizations. It's not just go out and give everyone a license to ChatGPT. We have to look at what are we truly looking to achieve there. But leaning into the what do we do to give people a license to use ChatGPT as one of the ways, there's a new skill set that is going to be necessary in pretty much every role. If you're going to take advantage, particularly of the generative AI LLM models, then you need to become good at prompt engineering. And prompt engineering it's not rocket science. But it is an important skill set that we need to lean into and learn. So when we think about, because the way we communicate with these tools is conversational. This is radically different to how we've used, for instance, the search engines of the world today, where you type in a term and it goes back and it finds and it comes back with many, many references. You actually have to ask the tools questions in a way that will clarify what are you trying to achieve, and being aware of what is your so structuring your prompts. There are some guidelines here, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time going into it, but we'll give some examples of a few. One of the important pieces of the iterate and experiment. One of the things that I find with the tooling is you actually you get into a conversation. So you start with a question, tell me about this topic, and it comes back, and oh, but what about this, and how about that? Also, hallucinations are real. Hey, I disagree with that, or that is wrong. In the product development space, we've been using the generative AI tools lately to produce user stories as one of the most common techniques for identifying requirements. And we came up with a pretty good set of user stories for a product. And then we asked it for the MVP. What is and truly in product development today, I would say that this term MVP, minimum viable product, is the most misused term in product management. In most organizations, when people say this is the MVP, it's not. It is the minimum, barely working, pretty awful product we think we can get away with. It's not the minimum viable product. But we run out of money, we run out of time, and we say, oh yeah, we did the MVP. That is not the MVP. So when I asked for the MVP, the tool came back with that minimum, really crappy product. And I responded to, no, that's not the MVP. And actually put in the explanation. In Eric Ries's book, the MVP is the minimum set of features that will validate or invalidate the most critical assumptions. Please go and give me the correct MVP. And very politely said, you're right, I'm sorry, I got that wrong, and came back with what was a good, true minimum viable product, looking at what are the highest the most ambiguous elements, the areas with the highest risk, and how could we validate those assumptions quickly. But it took me having that conversation with the tool, not just accepting what the tool had to say. And that's a key, yeah, minimum lovable product, yes. So it's not just, it also, these tools can do more than just give you just text. They're actually quite good at generating graphics and images. They can do, I was working on a prototype, and we generated the HTML code in minutes. Or you can use output from one tool as input to another. And these are skills and techniques in prompting that you want to build the practice in. So prompt engineering as a skill set, as a competency for today's world is really important. And the way to get good at it is to practice. Also ask the tools, how about this? Give me prompts for. If you're doing graphic images, it can be really useful to say to one tool, give me a prompt for designing this. So this is an example of a mock-up of we're building a Lux Journey app, and there's a thread that talks about what the Lux Journey app is. And I asked the tool, give me the prompt to put into an image generator to create a marketing image for this new app. And you can see there the beginnings of what came up. So I was then able to copy this, put it into one of the image generators, Midjourney or one of those, and lo and behold, you get that sort of prompt. You can also prompt it as act as a role. Again, in the product management space recently, we asked the tool, give us a list of personas for a particular product. And it came up with what would be a very, very valid list of personas. And we then said, use the Jeff Patton's pragmatic persona format, and it came up with the pragmatic persona format. And then we asked it, what questions should we ask each persona in the context of the product we were building? And it came up with a good set of questions. Now, those were questions that I would go and ask real human beings. But we also said, okay, now answer those questions. So we got back a starting set, which we could then take, and in our conversations with the real personas, with the potential customers of this product, we had a starting set that, again, accelerated the time we were taking. In this product development space, the early discovery, my experience, is we're reducing it by at least 50% and sometimes 60, 70%, the amount of time that we need before we've got a good understanding that we can then take into the product development. And then in the product development, the acceleration also is happening to probably, in my personal experience in this, we're finding it's 50 to 60% time saving in that development. And that's the engineering, it's the designing and executing test cases. It's leaning into the co-pilot tools, it's leaning into using all of the capabilities. So again, it's the accelerator, not the replacement, but it accelerates us tremendously. So if there's a skill set that is going to be really really important in leveraging these tools, it's going to be prompt engineering. So go and practice. And the thing about the prompt engineering it's just learn. Ask the tools to help you to do better prompting. And of course, I have to do the place commercial here. Come on a class with SoftEd too, with the skills development group. All right. But when we talk about this, what are some of the things? The generative AI, the large language models, the chat tools, they are the very, very visible piece. And we've seen a massive acceleration since the launch of ChatGPT, but there's many other tools in that space. One figure I saw that was that in 2023 there were 80,000 AI startups. I don't know what the number is at this point in 2024. It's probably 200,000. How many of those are going to survive? Well, I would imagine it's going to be like the dot-com boom in the late 90s, early 2000s, that we went there, and then there was a crash. We didn't lose the internet at the end of the dot-com crash. We ended up with a really, really good platform. So we had this crash, but the long-term impact and benefit has been we have the internet in all of its glory and capabilities. We're going to see the same. So of those, my guess, 200,000 startups at this point will compress down to thousands, tens of thousands. They are going to be the ones that will persist, be stable, and give us the true benefit. And we think about where it is. The UPS example, optimizing delivery routes and saving $400 million worth of fuel. And with that, $400 million worth of fuel of carbon emissions. So better for the planet as well. Agriculture, precision farming, the ability to take a huge amount of sensor data and analyze that and make good farming decisions. Education, certainly we are seeing in skills development group, we're seeing a massive use of these tools, and the tools are helping us to do better jobs. Yeah, healthcare, there's in the video image recognition space, consistently reading X-rays, reading MRI results. The AI tools are more consistently reliable and picking up earlier stage cancers and other problems than the human being. But we still need the human in the loop. The tool is saying, hey, look at this. I think it's this. The human being has to then really dig into it. Finance fraud detection. I personally experienced this with when recently my bank account was hacked, and the bank picked it up within minutes and turned the transaction around, saved me a fortune. And it was recognizing patterns that were unusual and that I would not have used. So the underlying AI tools, the pattern recognition, which is really all most of the generative AI is. And yeah, real world examples. I gave some of those the numbers earlier on, but Moderna doing mRNA vaccination development, Mattel for product development, Procter and Gamble for streamlining production, Goldman Sachs, the 40 to 50 million dollars a year saving. So there's a lot of real examples in there. But what makes this stuff up? It's not ChatGPT. Underneath that are all of these different components, and they're merging together. So machine learning and deep learning, absolutely necessary for the generative AI, the predictors, because that's all generative AI is. It has learned from a data set that has been provided, and for most of the generative AI tools, the public ones, that data set was all of the information on the interweb. And it's predicting what the next word will be. So, a dog is, and it's got a predictor, well, an animal. And that's what comes out. But with such a huge data set, the prediction algorithms are pretty good. The challenge is they're also sometimes going to be very wrong. A dog is purple. Might be something that could come out. Now, I have seen purple-dyed dogs. I felt very sorry for them. But generally, we don't want that would probably not have been what we wanted. Yeah, computer vision, robotics, expert systems. We're seeing these things merge together as well. There was a headline and an article I was looking at the other day that I believe it was a Chinese company. For the first time, there has built a bipedal robot that has a walking gait that is the same as human beings. And the interesting thing is the way that they trained the robot to walk was not through defining the mechanics of the bone structure and the mathematical algorithms. They used the machine learning, deep learning approach of predictive, basically the same way that the GPT tools work with predictive text. They fed in images of people walking, and it learned through that. There was another example of GPT tools generating a game without writing any game code. And that flow, and the game played like one of the large online multiplayer games. But there was no underlying game code. It was the prediction of, it's watched thousands of hours of gaming, and here's what it would look like next. So this learning model and this prediction model, bringing things together, is making significant changes. And I think we're only at the beginning, and you can say, and it's been said so many times, the tool that you use today is the worst it's ever going to be. Tomorrow it will be better. The next day it will be better. So these tools are continually improving, and the learning that's happening there. LLM and RAG, the retrieval augmented generation. So, and the example, the most widely known example of a RAG is Perplexity. The large language models are trained with a data set. The latest version of GPT-4 is, I think it was August 2024, was the snapshot of the data set. The RAG tools first go and do a search, bring back the results, and use that to merge with the trained data set underneath it. So Perplexity as a good example of that. And what the RAG tool gives you, if it is important, is the most up-to-date information. Those statistics that I quoted in terms of the values and early on in my talk were generated or accessed via Complexity this morning, New Zealand time. So it's the most up-to-date I could get. But hallucination and misuse, they are real. And this leads us into thinking about ethics. Just because we can, does it mean we should? And the answer there is sometimes, and sometimes no. These tools are subject to the same challenges as any other tool, quite honestly. They exacerbate the visibility of those challenges. We have to put human ethics at the front. Just because we can doesn't mean we should. We need to think about the data sets, the training data sets, the bias built into those sets, the privacy, accountability, transparency. If an autonomous car gets into an accident, who's responsible? We don't know yet. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot of case law that comes out to try and figure out some of these things. Because there is real harm being done by perpetuating the bias in the training data sets. And there are highly visible examples of these that I'm not going to go in to detail at this point, but there's lots and lots, and these are just in many ways, the tip of the iceberg. The bias comes from the training data set. If an organization has had a bias against a particular group over time period, and we then use that organization's data set to train a decision-making model, well, that bias is going to be built in. The algorithms can be biased. The way they interact. In my podcast recently, I was talking to Sherry Byrne-Harper, who is an advocate for accessibility. And she was talking about some of the challenges that physically or otherwise disabled people have interacting with the products in the marketplace today. And these tools are still not coping with and providing the level of accessibility. And yeah, deployment, the way we implement the systems in our organizations. So we have to be very conscious and very, very clear. In your organization, you need strong policies, and those strong policies need to be driven by ethics and values. Make sure you've got diverse representative data. Do a rigorous testing, and this will slow us down. Good. Pause, think. Make sure that we have the human in the loop. Make sure that the decision process is transparent. The tools themselves are getting better at explaining their logic steps. Make sure you use that. And again, that diverse, the more diverse the team, the people are who on the team who are defining these policies and rules and approaches, and then going into the development, the better. Now, this applies to any type of product, but in the adopting these sort of tools today, it's even more important. So have those ethical guidelines, put in place governance frameworks, think about policy and regulation even. And I'll make these slides available. I don't expect you to read all of these, but here are some examples of government level organizations, or PW and PwC's case, just a publicly available set of principles for AI adoption. And the other one that is causing concern, and we've seen legal cases and strikes and so forth, is data compliance, is data and privacy. The training data set, where is it coming from? Do you have permission to use that training data set? If you're using your customer's data, have you had explicit permission to use that data in this way? And it comes down to, where are we if we think about what is our approach? Most organizations today are at the initial exploration level. Maybe, and there are definitions for these 5 levels of maturity. I think it's worthwhile pausing and thinking, and what do we need to do to get from one step to another? So the initial, the developing, the defined, managed, and optimized. And these maturity models have been around for many different things over the decades. But it's worth stopping and thinking, where are we at and what do we deliberately need to do to move from one level of maturity to another? And in the PDF, we've got descriptions and definitions for those. So where are we going? AI is going to be everywhere. Our future is ubiquitous. The tools will be a part of our future. We're going to see advancements in all of those technologies. We're going to see massive advancements in machine learning, and the tools getting better and better and better. We need, individually and in our organizations, to step into owning this and guiding this future. And here I lean into being agile. Jim Highsmith has said, if you failed at Agile, you will fail at AI. Adopting these tools, they're an accelerator, and you have to be accelerated. That means we need a mindset of agility, adaptability, flexibility, collaboration, continuous improvement, truly customer-focused, empowerment, transparency. And that's deep collaboration and teamwork. But one of the challenges, or the interesting thing, is our team now includes a chatbot, multiple different AI-enhanced tools. From a teaming perspective, we really need to think about, how do our teams collaborate effectively together and with the tool? And that's the learning for teams today, is how can we embrace these tools and embrace that acceleration? So if my product discovery has gone from 2 weeks to 3 days, and my development cycle has gone from 5 days to 2, well, does a 10-day sprint make sense in my product development? Maybe it doesn't. Maybe it comes to 2 or 3 days. Maybe my team goes from 7 people, 7 plus or minus 2, to 3 plus or minus 2, because we can leverage those tools. And we build into our models. Any of you who've been on a soft-ed Agile class will recognize this as our value lifecycle model. Well, we incorporate the AI tooling and the ideas around AI. If we are building a new software-intensive product today, does it make sense to incorporate AI? Not just in using AI tools to help build the product, but does the product, will it benefit from having an AI component? I don't want an AI-driven toothbrush, personally, but they do exist. And for some people, that's a valuable product. Where does incorporating AI into our products add value to our organizations and to our clients? And I'm going to skip over this one. There are many different types or ways you can think of implementing the tooling. But what does your team look like? Where does the AI tool enhance? And what do they bring us? We make the point, domain intern, not the SME. A common metaphor that's used for the LLM tools today is it's like having an incredibly intelligent intern at your fingertips. Henrik Knieberg in his video talks about having Einstein in your basement. But this incredibly intelligent intern will occasionally come to work drunk. And your job is to know when they're drunk. They're not the SME, but they can provide you with a lot of SME level knowledge and help. So it is a source of business value. It is an accelerator for what we do. Think about how we can apply, how we can bring this in, and be realistic about the pitfalls as well. So that is that. I'm going to do the plug for our accelerated delivery with AI class, which is accredited by IC Agile, and it gives you the foundations of IC Agile, foundations of AI certificate from IC Agile. So thank you very much, folks. I hope that was an interesting, can't say conversation, but an interesting monologue.
Oh, it was conversations, lots of people sharing lots of things. Now we got a few minutes for some questions. I'm watching the chat board right now. So let me know if you have a question for Shane and we can bring it to bear. And remember, this is recorded, and we will share the recording and the slides in a few days. Looking for any questions? Yeah, 57% of all base texts have been generated by AI. Lord have mercy. I got pounded this year with political stuff living in North Carolina. Oh, it was brutal. Hey, Mr. Ruppels here. You enjoyed your conversation? All right, so Pamela asked, I worked in ed tech for years where plagiarism by students is a big concern. How do we get universities to change?
Ooh,
It's a good US question.
this is a big one. And at Skills Development Group, we're tackling this one right now. Because we have vocational training as well as professional training, and the way we assess is the thing that is going to have to change. The essay as an assessment tool doesn't work anymore, and honestly, it hasn't really worked for a long time. We have to think about what are our students going to be doing in the real world? How can we prepare them effectively for that real world? Yes, they need the base knowledge, but we also know that the half-life of technical skills today is about 18 months. The pace of change is so high that the most important skill set at university is not the advanced mathematics. It's the ability to learn new advanced mathematics. So that how can we assess, not can our students regurgitate the answer, how can we assess their true critical thinking, their ability to learn, their analytical skills? And that is a different model. And it's one that universities and education institutions are working on and with. And it has to, it's not a fully solved problem yet, but it changes the model, for sure.
I'm responding to John about prompting, but what's your thoughts? What's the best way to learn prompting?
Practice, practice, practice.
We're both saying the same thing.
Yeah. Pick up the tool, ask it a question, ask it, how could I have prompted, what would have been a better prompt for that question? And yes, I'll do the place commercial here. Come on, one of the soft ed AI classes, because we teach prompting. And we teach it through giving you prompts and practice.
All right, let's see how many people we got left. We got 66 people left. And we got a few more minutes for any lingering questions. Practice, practice, practice. How do you get to Carnegie Hall? It's a US joke. Practice, practice, practice. Yeah. I've gotten some cool styling now lately. It's kind of fun.
Mm-hmm.
But it's based on my style, right? How I would talk to someone, how I would try to garner information, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of neat.
And it's treating the tool as a conversation partner.
And I constantly ask it what it knows. So I always go back and say, okay, do you know this? Do you have this information? Those type of things. I mean, that helps out a lot because I can gauge what it's pulling from. Yeah. Because sometimes I think it says it knows stuff and it doesn't, and then so
it doesn't.
Yeah, and so I give it the information back because I'm like, I don't think you remembered this.
Yeah.
Yes, Melody, I agree with you. I say thank you. I say excellent job. I say I really appreciate your time. Yeah, I'll get that link to the course here shortly. James, take me a couple seconds here. If Laura might beat me to it, but that's great. Excellent. Yeah, I completely. On Claude, when you're looking at data, Claude does a great job of dealing with large PDFs. If you got to summarize lots of information, I love working with that tool. But yeah, you'll learn over time, right? Right, Shane? Learn over time.
Yeah, yeah, and use multiple tools. I've been digging into Claude lately, like you. I'm finding it really useful for a lot
Yeah.
of stuff.
Yeah, I like it.
And the Claude artifacts are really great. So, when I was talking about generating user stories, I was doing that in Claude, and then exporting it as a CSV file, and then telling it further. Well, yeah, that's nice, but that's just a list of stories now formatted as if it's a user story map, and I get the properly formatted, laid out user story map.
We had
You have to,
one attendee that told a story about using it and saving 3 to 4 weeks of people power.
yeah,
I mean, it's just amazing when you start looking at it. It's pretty. Oh, here it is. It was Travis. It created edible content which saved about 3 to 4 weeks of human time.
yeah,
And that's what we're trying to teach too. Trying to
yeah,
show that.
yeah. We called the class accelerated delivery,
And that's what we're trying to do.
and that's what we're doing.
The next
It's
step of
not,
Agile, potentially.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It truly is. You need the agile mindset in place. That a mindset of adaptation and learning, and it's accelerating. So the 2 week sprint cycle of Scrum is no longer useful.
No, that's right. I got
So
to answer. Go ahead.
Rami, to answer your question about the tool that saves 3 to 4 weeks, if I were to pick one tool that did that for me, it was Claude. But spread use multiple tools in the ChatGPT has got some strengths, Claude has got strengths, and if you want the results augmented generation, then Perplexity is a good tool for that level.
And that was Travis's comment, and I cut and paste his comment back in, and he was using ChatGTP, and he created his gherkin, which really helped him do his
Yeah.
estimates and resource allocation and the proper formats, which is really cool.
Yeah.
All right, let's let everyone get back to their world. Shane, thank you so much. Have a fantastic Friday. Happy Friday to you. Thank you for waking up in the morning with some breakfast of eggs and ham and spaghetti sandwiches, maybe. And
No,
we
it
appreciate you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, folks.
Talk to you later. Bye.